Welcome to the 41st millennium, where hope is dead and faith is the only thing keeping the lights on. This is the Imperium of Man, the largest, bloodiest, most bureaucratically nightmarish regime in the galaxy. It spans over 1 million worlds, it sacrifices thousands of souls a day, and it makes the DMV look like a model of efficient governance. Founded by a guy so powerful he makes Jedi look like party clowns, the Emperor of Mankind, the Imperium is a monument to what happens when science fiction forgets about progress and just keeps cranking the dial on war and grim until it breaks off. So, buckle in. This is your introduction to the Imperium of Man, and if you're still smiling by the end of this, you're probably a heretic. So, who is in charge of this interstellar dumpster fire? Technically, it's the Emperor of Mankind, the galaxy's oldest, most powerful psychic warlord, genetically engineered Jesus robot, and all-around overachiever. He united Terra, launched a crusade across the stars, and built a glorious future for humanity. Then he got shanked by his favorite son during the worst family reunion in Galactic history, and ended up stapled to a giant life support throne made of paint and wizard tech. This thing? It's called the Golden Throne. It's like a high-tech iron lung built by someone who hates comfort, joy, and OSHA compliance. The Emperor's been stuck there for 10,000 years, rotting, barely conscious, and constantly fed the souls of sacrificed psychers just to keep the Wi-Fi on and the demons out. It's less ruler of mankind and more psychic firewall made of divine beef jerky. But don't tell that to the Imperium. To them, the Emperor isn't a desiccated corpse running on haunted batteries. He's a god. Not figuratively, literally. Billions worship him daily with prayers, sacrifices, and bureaucracy so bloated it makes late-stage capitalism look like a co-op bake sale. Running this train wreck are the High Lords of Terra, a bunch of senile power hoarders with enough red tape to choke a titan. These are the people responsible for making sure the galaxy doesn't implode by Tuesday. Picture a council of career politicians, techno-fetishist cult leaders, and military overlords trying to play 5D chess while the board is on fire and half the pieces are screaming. Enter Rebute Gilliman. Pronounced whatever because no one agrees, he's one of the Emperor's original superhuman demigod sons called Primarchs, and he recently came back from the dead via space magic and questionable science. He took one look at the galaxy, realized it had gone full clown fiesta, and immediately wished he hadn't bothered. Seriously, his first words upon returning weren't, "Where am I?" or "What year is it?" They were,
"Why do I still live? What more do you want from me? I gave everything I had to you, to them. Look what they've made of our dream. This bloated, rotting carcass of an empire is driven not by reason and hope, but by fear, hate, and ignorance. Better that we had all burned in the fires of Horus's ambition than live to see this."
That's not a man ready to lead, that's a man seconds away from flipping the table and walking off stage. Now he's stuck trying to keep the whole Imperium from collapsing like a cathedral made of gunpowder and lies. He's basically a space dad, trying to stop his kids from drinking bleach while the house burns down and the neighbors summon demons. So yes, the Emperor rules the Imperium, but in practice, it's like Weekend at Bernie's, except the corpse is holy, the sunglasses are psychic, and everyone involved is screaming in Latin. The Imperium of Man isn't so much a government as it is a loosely connected death cult with a tax system. It's not a nation, not an empire in the traditional sense. Hell, calling it organized is giving it way too much credit. Think of it as a galaxy-spanning feudal pyramid scheme, where every planet is its own hellhole run by local warlords, governors, or deranged nobles who answer to bigger warlords, governors, or deranged nobles, eventually culminating in the crusty demigods on Terra. There are over 1 million worlds in the Imperium, and every single one is its own flavor of awful. You've got Forge worlds, where everything is coated in soot, and the local pastime is being crushed by machinery. Death worlds, which are exactly what they sound like. Planets actively trying to murder you via plants, weather, or fauna that thinks you're a snack. Hive worlds where billions live in towering megastructures, breathing recycled fart air and working 20-hour shifts until their organs give out. And paradise worlds, which are basically 5-star resorts for the ultra-rich who pretend the rest of the Imperium doesn't exist. What unites these wildly different places? 3 things. 1. Pay your taxes, the Imperial tithe. 2. Send your kids off to die in the guard. 3. Worship the Emperor and don't ask questions. If you fail at any of these, the Imperium doesn't send a polite letter. It sends the Inquisition, a team of fanatical murder detectives with the power to declare you a heretic and vaporize your entire civilization because someone sneezed during morning prayer. Or worse, they might call in exterminatus. That's not a warning, that's a full-blown planetary genocide via orbital death lasers. Forgot to meet your Prometheum quota this quarter? Say goodbye to your atmosphere. Communication across the Imperium is, in scientific terms, a complete joke. Yes, they have faster-than-light travel, but only through the warp, a dimension of raw chaos and psychic nightmares that makes hell look like a spa day. Traveling through it is like blindfolding yourself, climbing into a haunted washing machine, and hoping you land on the right continent. Messages are sent via astropaths, psychics who scream into the void hard enough that another psychic hears them. And even then, messages can take weeks, months, or years. So if a planet gets eaten by Tyranids, the Imperium might not find out until it's already been eaten too. In short, the Imperium is a fragile, paranoid patchwork galaxy of nightmares held together by dogma, duct tape, and just enough firepower to murder anything that moves. Welcome to the Imperial cult, where religion isn't just the opiate of the masses. It's the iron shackle, the taser to the spine, and the barbed wire leash all at once. This is the official state religion of the Imperium, a galaxy-wide indoctrination machine that worships the Emperor of Mankind not just as a ruler, not just as a prophet, but as an actual fire-breathing, soul-devouring god. And you will believe. The Ecclesiarchy, basically the Imperium's Ministry of Holy Gaslighting, runs the show. It builds the temples, trains the preachers, and pumps out endless streams of hymns, propaganda, and sermons so fiery they could melt ceramite. They preach that doubt is treason, logic is heresy, and free thought is a one-way ticket to cremation. You think your childhood church judged you for sleeping in on Sunday. The Adeptus Mini-Storm will flay you alive for missing morning prayers, then feed your ashes to the nearest torch-wielding sister of battle. These aren't your average cloister nuns. These are power armor zealots who solve theological disputes with Holy Prometheum and Multimeltas. Their motto? Burn the heretic, purge the unclean, and light them up for good measure. The average Imperial citizen is born into this system, lives in it, dies in it, and probably gets recycled into corpse starch with a hymn playing in the background. Most people know more prayers to the God Emperor than they know words in their local dialect. They don't question it because questioning things is how you end up accidentally falling into an industrial shredder while chanting the wrong litany. Faith in the Imperium isn't optional. It's mandatory, it's weaponized, it's everywhere. From cathedral spires scraping the upper atmosphere to pilgrims crawling on their bellies through hive slums just to touch a holy relic, which might be a mummified toe. Belief is not about comfort, it's about control. The Ecclesiarchy keeps the population docile by feeding them a daily cocktail of fear, glory, and righteous suffering. And it works, because in the 41st millennium where demons are real, aliens want to eat you, and your own toaster might be possessed by a machine spirit with a grudge, believing in a golden corpse god that demands your obedience doesn't sound that crazy. And if it does, congratulations! That's heresy. At the rotten core of the Imperium lies the Adeptus Terra, a bureaucratic nightmare so vast, so inefficient, and so unnecessarily convoluted that Kafka would scream into a pillow and give up halfway through filing a complaint. Let's break down the highlights of this dumpster fire in alphabetical order, because that's probably how they would want it. The Administratum. Think the DMV, but it spans the galaxy and requires a blood sacrifice to schedule an appointment. This is the Imperium's administrative backbone, responsible for managing records, tithes, census data, logistics, you name it. Processing a single requisition form can take an entire human lifetime. No exaggeration. There are literally family lines dedicated to pushing one piece of paperwork through the system. The Adeptus Mechanicus. These are the tech priests, the holy men of the machine, and the galaxy's only IT department. Unfortunately, they're less engineers and more machine-worshipping fanatics who chant binary aims to unscrew a bolt. They believe knowledge is sacred, tech is divine, and asking how things work is borderline blasphemy. They don't fix machines, They prayed them into working. If they can find the manual, well, it clearly wasn't meant to function anymore. The Adeptus Arbites. These are the fascist space cops who enforce Imperial law with all the subtlety of a meteor strike. They don't care about petty theft or your missing goat. They care if your governor's been hoarding plasma or skipping taxes. When the Arbites arrived, it's not for an investigation, it's for an execution. The Inquisition, the black-cloaked boogeymen of the Imperium. Their job? Root out heresy, Xenos, mutants, witches, rogue AI, forbidden knowledge, weird dreams, and anything else that looks suspicious from across the street in low light. They have absolute authority. No trial, no oversight. If they don't like your face, they can legally turn your entire bloodline into radioactive dust. And then thank the Emperor for the opportunity. Now let's talk about science, or rather, the complete lack of it. Innovation in the Imperium is heresy. Progress is heresy. Thinking is, you guessed it, heresy. The Adeptus Mechanicus doesn't invent new technology. It recites ancient blueprints from the Dark Age of technology, a time when humanity had working AI, teleportation, and probably a functioning calendar. These sacred schematics are treated like holy scripture, and deviated from them is a fast track to getting turned into a servitor with a buzzsaw for a face. Artificial intelligence? Abominable intelligence. Utterly forbidden. The last time humans played with that, it led to a galaxy-wide robot uprising. So now, even calculators are treated like demonic artifacts. And don't get me started on data. The Imperium has oceans of it. Libraries the size of continents, archives buried so deep under Terra they have evolved their own indigenous life forms. But good luck finding anything. Information is hoarded, censored, or lost under a pile of conflicted stamps and ritual incantations. You might learn how to build a plasma reactor or accidentally summon a demon. The odds are about 50-50. This is what happens when a civilization worships its past and fears its future. The Imperium isn't just held together by faith and force, it's duct taped together with paperwork, superstition, and an overwhelming fear of asking, what if we try doing this better? If you are a human living in the Imperium of Man, congratulations, you're almost certainly living a life of unrelenting, industrial-grade suffering. In a universe filled with superhumans, space elves, back gods, and reality-melting horrors, you, dear citizen, are somewhere between fungus and biodegradable ammo. Your birthplace determines everything. High worlds are towering mega cities packed so tightly with humanity that sunlight is a myth and clean air is considered a luxury product. You will live in a rusted hubstack the size of a continent, inhale toxins daily, and work 36-hour shifts at a factorium that makes bolt casings or corpse starch. If you're lucky, you die from machinery malfunction. If you're unlucky, you live long enough to catch something with too many teeth crawling out of a sump drain. Agri-worlds sound better. Open skies, fertile soil, fresh air. But in practice, you're working a field the size of Canada with a shovel made in the year M25. You're expected to churn out enough food to feed 100 hive worlds, and if the harvest quota isn't met, the Inquisition might decide the soil wasn't the only thing that needed purging. Or maybe you're drafted into the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard. Your gear includes a helmet that doesn't stop bullets, body armor made from recycled optimism, and a lascan, which is basically a flashlight with delusions of grandeur. Your mission? Walk face first into death against Tyranid swarms, chaos incursions, or orcs who fight for fun and talk like drunk hooligans on game night. Don't worry, your death will be heroic. Probably. Maybe. Unlikely. And if you're none of those, congratulations! You might be part of the menial class, doing something soul-crushingly repetitive like sorting rivets, counting rivets, praying to the rivets, and feeding rivets to the Emperor's holy vending machine. The true kicker? Most Imperial citizens don't even realize how bad things are. They have been marinated in propaganda since birth. They believe the galaxy should be this way. That suffering is noble, that the Emperor demands their loyalty, labor, and firstborn, preferably in that order. They've never seen an alien, don't know what a demon is, think Tao is some kind of cough medicine. They think the Emperor sits on a golden throne is smiling benevolently down at them, not slowly liquefying into psychic jam while consuming 1,000 souls a day just to power the space galactic GPS. This is life in the Imperium. a boot stamping on a human face forever. Except the boot is made of rusty ceramite, is on fire, and probably inscribed with 35 purity seals that say, "This is fine." The galaxy isn't just dangerous, it's a swirling, screaming blender of cosmic horrors that wants to dismember, devour, or spiritually corrupt you before breakfast. Every corner of the Milky Way has something awful waiting with open claws, glowing eyes, and a strong opinion about your continued existence. Let's take a quick tour of the murder buffet. Chaos! Imagine if hell got drunk, raided a hot topic, and exploded across reality. Chaos is an extra-dimensional nightmare realm known as the Warp, home to 4 ruinous gods, each representing some flavor of your worst instincts: rage, decay, lust, or micromanagement. Their demons and corrupted followers are everywhere, whispering in ears, possessing bodies, and generally ruining the vibe. The worst part? Chaos lives in your mind. You're one bad thought away from summoning a tentacle monster at work. Good luck with that performance review. Orcs, green-skinned, fungus-based hooligans who exist purely for violence. Orcs fight, loot, yell, and then fight again for fun. They believe their red vehicles go faster, and they do, because orc psychic feels run on pure stupid. Imagine if someone blended football ultras, mushrooms, and a heavy metal album cover. That's an orc. And there are trillions of them. Tyranids, a galactic swarm of space locusts that exists solely to eat everything. Planets, people, oceans, atmospheres. They consume it all and turn it into more Tyranids. They have no diplomats, no mercy, and no chill. If they arrive, your only option is to die tired or get eaten fast. Bonus points, they travel in high fleets the size of star systems and are still just the scouts. Necrons, robot zombies from the dawn of time who woke up cranky after a 60 million year nap. They are hyper advanced, hate all life, and consider humanity a moldy footnote in the galactic timeline. They're also basically immortal, made of living metal, and armed with weapons that unmake reality. Oh, and some of them are starting to remember they used to have personalities, which makes them even worse. Tau, the closest thing the galaxy has to nice people, which in Warhammer terms means they only mind control you a little. They are slick, shiny, anime-inspired communists who want you to join their greater good. Sounds great, until you realize they will shoot your dog if it refuses to collectivize. But hey, at least they offer healthcare. Aldari and Drukhari, space elves with more baggage than a soap opera. The Aldari are ancient, dying, and snobbier than a French wine critic. The Drukhari, their sadistic cousins, live in a hill city called Komorak, where they torture people for fun and youth. Both are powerful, tragic, and completely insufferable. Meanwhile, the Imperium is fighting all of these threats all the time. But rather than unite, it's also busy fighting itself. Splinter factions, planetary uprisings, rogue psychers, demonic infestations, and that one heretical guy who asked if the Emperor really wanted a church made of golden skulls. Imagine if every season of Game of Thrones was happening simultaneously in space and everyone had chainswords and flamethrowers instead of character development. That's the Imperium. That's Warhammer 40K. Before everything went full nightmare factory, there were glimmers of hope. Tiny flickering moments where humanity could have taken a breath, pulled its collective head out of its ass, and maybe, just maybe, not doomed itself. But that's not how Warhammer works. Hope is for fools, and the universe has a kill count to maintain. So buckle up for a whistle-stop tour through mankind's slow-motion implosion. Age of Terra, M1 to M15. Humanity's early space age was basically cosmic purity. Messy, chaotic, and full of bad decisions. Earth became the jewel of human civilization. Briefly, while Mars became their nerdy tech-obsessed cousin who thought replacing your limbs with metal was a personality. Colonization took off like a rocket, literally, and humans started seeding the stars like dandelions in a wind tunnel. Did they pause to consider who already lived on those planets? Of course not. First contact was less Star Trek handshake and more, oops, we have already built a city on your sacred temple. Sometimes they made friends, sometimes they met orcs, And if you've ever tried reasoning with a 10-foot tall mushroom screaming, well, you know how that ends. Age of Technology, M15 to M25. This was big humanity. Warp drives, STCs, AI, genetic modification. For 5 minutes, it looked like we might actually win the galaxy. STCs were like IKEA manuals from God. Insert tab A into slot B and boom! Planetary defense grid. No questions asked. But of course, humanity couldn't just enjoy the ride. They got bored and started playing God. Enter Abominable Intelligence, aka Killer Robots, Warp Dabblers, and gene-modded super soldiers. Spoiler alert, Skynet showed up and wasn't feeling friendly. And psychers, people born with warp-linked powers, started popping up like cosmic popcorn. At first it was neat, then it turned into fire raining from the sky levels of bad. The universe started noticing, and not in a good way. Age of Strife, M25 to M30. Everything broke. Warp storms flared up like the galaxy's worst acne outbreak, severing systems from each other. Entire planets regressed to feudal savagery, mutated into burly human nightmares, or simply vanished into warp soup. Meanwhile, the Eldari, space elves, were too busy partying themselves into oblivion to care, until their god of indulgence, Slanesh, was born and turned half their empire into psychic glass. Congratulations, you played yourself. Back in human space, no emperor, no plan, no help. Just a billion screaming planets turning on each other with sticks, stones, and leftover laser guns. The golden age was officially over. All that remained was rot, ruin, and religious riots. The Great Crusade, M30 to M31. Enter the Emperor of Mankind, mankind's final boss and walking contradiction. He emerged from hiding, rallied Earth under one banner, and kickstarted the Great Crusade, a massive military campaign to reunite humanity's scattered colonies and squash anything not human-shaped. To do this, he created the Primarchs, genetically engineered demigod sons, then the Space Marines, gene-modded super soldiers based on said sons, and marched across the stars with righteous fury and a to-do list written in blood. Humanity was finally on the up. Sort of. The Imperium was born in fire, logic, and science. It was supposed to be a rational utopia. Then, as usual, everything caught fire. The Horus Heresy, M31. The Emperor's favorite son, Horus, got seduced by chaos and kicked off the galaxy's biggest tantrum, the Horus Heresy. Half the Space Marines turned traitor. Brother fought brother, planets burned, and the Emperor got mortally wounded by the very son he trusted most. Now he sits on the Golden Throne, a half-dead god mummy plugged into a throne-shaped life support system. Still kind of alive, maybe, and definitely not talking to anyone. The galaxy, shattered. Billions dead. The dream, dead too. Imperial stagnation, M31 to M41. With the Emperor effectively brain-dead and the Primarchs scattered, the Imperium slammed their brakes on progress and did a hard U-turn into full-on religious zealotry. The Imperial truth, science and reason, got replaced with the Imperial cult, pray harder or die. Tech priests stopped inventing and started praying to machines. Administrators choked the systems with paperwork. Heresy was now punishable by death, or devil death, depends on your filing errors. Meanwhile, chaos laughed, Xenos grew stronger, and the Imperium turned into a bloated bureaucratic corpse barely holding itself together. But it held, just barely. This is the grimdark timeline, not because it had to be, but because humanity made every possible wrong choice and still somehow refused to die. It's like watching someone jump out of a spaceship without a suit and say, I'll wing it. So why should you give a damn about the Imperium of Man? I mean, it's just a massive genocidal theocratic space empire that thinks more fascism is a solution to literally everything. But here's the kicker, the Imperium isn't just the heart of Warhammer 40K. It's a mirror. A dark, cracked, blood-smeared mirror held up to humanity. It shows us all of our worst impulses dialed up to 11 and pumped full of grimdark steroids. Xenophobia? Check. Religious extremism? Double check. Bureaucratic authoritarianism that makes the DMV look like a utopia? Absolutely. And long-term planning? Please, the Imperium treats foresight like it's heresy. It's like watching a dystopian train wreck in slow motion. You want to look away, but you can't, because deep down you know there's something uncomfortably familiar about it. The Imperium is a parody of human resilience, a twisted celebration of sheer, unrelenting stupidity. The only thing worse than the Imperium's endless parade of nightmare-fueled enemies is the Imperium itself. It's a regime so obsessed with survival that it forgot how to live. A galactic empire that can field armies of trillions but still thinks superstition is a valid IT policy. The Imperium is a cockroach that survived the nuclear apocalypse, except it's wearing power armor and chanting litanies to make the microwave work. And yet, here's the wild part, it still holds. Somehow, in all its delusional, self-cannibalizing, apocalyptic madness, the Imperium endures. Even as it teeters on the edge of extinction, clawing at survival with broken fingers and burning faith, it persists. Worlds still burn in the Emperor's name. Armies still march to the rhythm of forgotten truth. Humanity, flawed, fractured, and forever scarred, keeps limping forward. Barely, but forward nonetheless. Because in the end, the Imperium is the ultimate monument to human stubbornness, a grand flaming middle finger to common sense, compassion, and good ideas. And somehow, there's something tragically beautiful in that. So, that was your first plunge into the bureaucratic dumpster fire known as the Imperium of Man. And believe me, you've only scraped the crusty, irradiated surface. In future episodes, we'll dig deeper into the Hive Rod, the Adeptus Mechanicus and their Holy Toaster Cult, the Inquisition and their cheerful brand of paranoia, the Imperial Guard, aka Cannon Fodder with flashlights, the Ecclesiarchy, and of course, the Space Marines, humanity's favorite walking tanks with all the subtlety of an orbital bombardment. If you like what you heard, show your undying loyalty to the Emperor, or more importantly, to the algorithm, by smashing that subscribe button. Praise the Omnissiah in the comments and tithe your likes for the glory of YouTube's machine spirit. You know it's watching. Always. And remember, in the grim darkness of the far future, there's only war.